Back everybody to another edition of Bamcomixs. This is Bamcomixs video review on The Mandalorian. Past the mid-season review point, onto our final last episodes. Mandalorian, as you know, the first season of The Mandalorian had only 8 episodes, and this season will probably have 8 episodes again. So for those of you who are not subscribed yet, make sure you hit that subscribe and hit those notifications, because without the notifications you won't have access to our videos. It makes it more easier to find our videos if you subscribe. So subscribe and hit those notifications, and every week we're dropping new content. We actually dropped 2 videos this past week, so make sure to hit the recaps of episode 4 and episode 5 of the Mandalorian season 2 review. And this time we're looking at episode 6, chapter 14, The Tragedy. Dun, dun, dun! We're hoping to make our goal and reach our goal by 100 subscribers by the new year. We're gonna keep on working on that goal, and if we don't get that goal of 100 subscribers, then for the next time. But you know what? We're shooting for New Year's. A new year, a new hope. And this Star Wars show, The Mandalorian, is bringing back that new hope for all fans of Star Wars. Actually, when people watch this show, it's like, now I want to see the old movies again. Now I want to go back into Star Wars lore, because there's so much in this episode to break down. So let's break it down right now. First, for the non-spoilers, this is a 5 out of 5 star episode. Now from here on going out, you're gonna have a lot of spoilers, so if you don't want spoilers, watch the show and then come back. But this one was just incredible. So, picking up where we left off with the Jedi, Mando decides to take the child to this planet, because at this planet there is a force-sensitive environment. There is a beacon, and if the child gets to this Jedi beacon and fills his way with the Force, it'll let him know and alert him to other Jedi in the universe if he's ready to accept the code of the Jedi and the training, or if he's not ready. So Mando sees the planet, and it looks like, you know what, this planet has a lot of rocky terrain. At first, Mando is trying to train the child himself and is telling him, you know what, Grogu. And check out how many times I'm gonna say that name wrong for those of you who haven't catched up. So my man Grogu here, you know, he needs that training, don't you? And so he's still with the shift knob. The shift knob has become one of the staples of the show. The connection between the Mandalorian and the child, the shift knob. And he's just basically saying, can you get it, little guy? Can you get the shift knob? He gets it. But they land on the planet. Now, when the title of the show came out, The Tragedy, I'm thinking, uh-oh, he caught up to him. Because earlier on, if you see in the episode, I believe it's when Mando visits Navarro, they did implant his Razor Crest with a tracking beacon. So the Empire knows where this guy is. So, lands on the planet. Mando puts the child on the Force-sensitive Jedi beacon of this planet, which is atop a little hill surrounded by 3 monoliths. There's like this, it's a large land that's barren plain, but has rocks. And so in that environment, he can't touch down the Razor's Crest. So he flies down to the surface of the planet, puts the child on the rock, says, okay, here it is. I got you here. This is what all of this thing has been leading up to, right? Since the first season, they tell him to deliver him back to his people. He puts him on the rock. He's like, he's looking for a switch. Mando is looking for some sort of an activation, because nothing is happening when he puts Grogu on the rock. And he's like, okay, my job here is done. Do your thing. Nothing is happening. So he's looking around. He's trying to find the switch. And what ends up happening? Man, I'll tell you, one of the greatest scenes in Mandalorian history. Okay? And when I saw this scene flash across my eyes as Slave 1 enters the atmosphere and does a circular curve, I already know in my mind, holy the Mando is in big trouble because, as we Star Wars fans know, that ship belongs to Boba Fett, okay? Of the Clone Wars, Boba Fett of The Empire Strikes Back. Boba Fett is coming, and he's coming because he wants his armor. When Mando sees that, he goes out not knowing who this guy is, so there's a confrontation, okay? He says, okay, stay here. When he goes back, when Mando, I'm skipping a little ahead, but when Mando sees the Slave One, his first reaction is to get Grogu out of there. So he turns around to go get Grogu, but it's like, I'm not sure at this point if he's already imbued with the Force, but there seems to be a reaction between Grogu and the Force, the mystical Force Stone that he's on, that now there's such a strong connection that he's like, okay, well, you stay here. I'm going to go try to find out what happened when he sees that Slave One. And now he encounters the shadowy figure that's been tracking him, which turns out to be Boba Fett. And like the actor, I'm telling you, it's like his father is Django, but that actor and his face, it's like it's the clones, and they look alike, and he looks great, you know. But it's like you see him that he's weathered, that he did survive the Sarlacc. So this debate has already been put to bed. Did Boba Fett survive in Return of the Jedi when he fell into the Sarlacc pit? Now, for the fans of the old novels and the legacy novels, you do know that Boba Fett did indeed escape from the Sarlacc pit when he was tossed there. Return of the Jedi, you know that he was on the skiff, right? So then he got knocked off and he fell into the Sarlacc. And people were like, well, that's the end of Boba Fett. There's no Boba Fett. But if you go back and read the novels, they do make mention that he blasted his way out of that and escaped, okay? Because he has, of course, the jetpack, he has the armor or whatever. Now, we don't know exactly how Boba Fett lost his armor. Actually, that would be a great story in itself. Mando's got that armor on his ship. In fact, he has the Beskar spear. You know, Mando's carrying a lot of things in the Razor's Crest, okay? So the guy touches down. He's like, what do you want? He's like, I want my armor. And then Boba Fett is like, well, that armor is the armor of the Mandalore. Like, if you're not part of Mandalore, if you're not in this, you can't have this armor. This armor is not yours. And so Boba Fett looks at him and it's like, that's my armor. That's his, you know, 100%. So it looks like they're going to get into a standoff, but as you can see, Boba Fett has traveled worlds now, and you see that he's old, he's weathered, he has scars. It's like he looked great. As soon as Mando tries to lift his blaster, Boba doesn't have any blaster or anything, but what he has is a large staff. But his partner, who he doesn't tell about, she's in the shadows with a sniper rifle. And we know her as one of the characters in season 1 who basically there was a big bounty on her and Mando helped this rookie kid out. This was in last season, but she was left to die in the sands, and apparently Boba Fett fetched this woman up from season 1. Now she owes him a life debt. So she is working with Boba Fett. So Boba Fett is like, listen, if you're gonna kill me, just remember that you know, my partner up there has a sniper trained on Grogu. And at this time, it's like Grogu is there, he can get sniped like that. Mando is about to react to all of that. Mando has such good listening that he remembers the voice of the sniper as the woman from the season 1, and he's like, well, didn't you die on the sands or whatever? And then that's when Boba Fett tells Mando, no, I rescued her. So the lower half of her body was replaced by machine parts, and I thought that was cool because That shows like sort of again the futuristic, the biotech, the merging of man and machine. In flies on the entering the atmosphere the Imperial troop transport. So this thing, as soon as it touches down, Mando knows we got to get out of here right now. In fact, we gotta get the hell out of Dodge. Let's go, Grogu. Turns around, but by this time now, there is an interaction between the mystical Jedi stone that Grogu is on and the Force that you see basically a perimeter of Force energy surrounding Grogu and shooting up into space. So that whole blue beam. So he's in that, and Mando can't, Mando tries to breach that field to grab him, and he cannot. He keep getting pushed back. Like every time he tries to grab him, it's like boom, the force field bounces him right off of it. So there's already a strong, it's like it's been synced. It's like once that USB is synced to your CPU, you just can't pull it out. That's how my boy Grogu and the Force Stone were linked, alright, at the top of that hill. Which is great because they're on top of this hill and they're surrounded on barren land, 360 degrees all sides. This troop carrier transport lands on there, and the troop carrier, this is the first time I've seen that type of ship. Or maybe I have seen it in the Rise of Skywalker. These transports, and they land on the on one of the Star Destroyers. But in this episode, like this, the troop transport comes in and it just lands there. The docking bay, the docking door just lowers down, and you see like stormtroopers and stormtroopers and stormtroopers pulling out of this thing. And I'm like, how many stormtroopers can one of these transports hold? Because the first transport came out of it, and you see the stormtroopers, and you see one of rank, which is the captain. But as soon as they come in, Mando automatically and Boba and the woman immediately team up. Boba just has his staff, and this staff is a dangerous weapon with like a sharp ball of spears at the end of this staff, and he's hiding in the shadows as well. He's hiding behind rocks, taking out stormtroopers one by one as they come into this like Death Valley, but in the center it's like a hill there. So like Boba's shooting it out. Remember, Boba has excellent aim. They just come in and Boba is like, and Mando and the woman, they're just mowing them down. And I'm saying to myself, man, I wish the Empire could have a bigger threat. I'm kind of actually on the side of the Empire here. Sorry, Grogu. I'm on the side of the Empire. I mean, Empire has all of this stuff. Why can't they take out two guys or whatever, a woman, and take the asset? And there's an exciting sequence between one of the stormtroopers where I'm thinking, man, the stormtroopers by this point are done. They're getting wrecked. They're getting owned by Boba. Boba's coming out and he's showing us fighting skills. He doesn't need a blaster to take care of anybody. He's such a badass that he could only use a staff, right? Like even with a staff, and like he decimates a whole bunch of stormtroopers and they get scared or whatever. But like one of the stormtroopers, like the captain, sees this and he's like, all right, get a gun or whatever. And they bring this large Gatling gun and now they're shooting up the whole area. And this episode was action packed. And you know what? It's like Mando and the woman is like, they're both shooting. They don't know where Boba is yet, but then when Boba appears, he's taking care of everybody with his bow staff. So it looks like they're in the clear. Everything is fine. But just as we thought, man, that was a walk in the park. That was just the first transport. That was just the first one. I'm thinking because as they're breathing easy, as they're taking, like, okay, we took care of that. A second one comes into the atmosphere and it lands and it opens and even more stormtroopers. They have a lot of them. So they just come out again and it's like, what's going to happen now? Again, Mando is like, I gotta get Grogu out of here now. And as soon as he decides to do that, we see all the way up in the clouds a laser come right down and destroy the Razor's crest. What? Kaboom! I think at that's the point where like the audience, well, myself included, felt like that punch, like, oh my goodness, that was a tragedy. Okay, that's one of the tragedies that happened. And Grogu, it's linked already, so we don't know, he can't go ahead and grab him. So what ends up happening is that, as you know, they're distracted with the stormtroopers, Moff Gideon, who's seeing all the action, says, okay, let's release the super droids that he's been having. And there's like 4 or 5 super droids or whatever. They land down and they grab the child and they shoot up. And these like droids, they also look badass. They're not like just regular stormtroopers or regular droids. These droids look really lethal, and they look very dangerous, you know. And they just go in, they grab them, and they leave. Boba Fett now, who all this time we don't see him, it's like, where is he? He's actually going back to his ship, and he's flying, and he's been told, listen, don't let them escape with the child, don't let them escape with Grogu. And as soon as Boba is flying his ship, he sees that he has to break off the chase, because he sees where these super droids are heading, and they're heading onto what looks like a Star Destroyer. Boba Fett, when he saw that, he's like, the Empire is back. And on the ground, Mando and the woman are like, well, that's impossible. Like, there's no Empire anymore. It's New Republic. When the second transport of stormtroopers descended and they were trying to take Grogu, Boba Fett, okay, when he got his hands on the armor, I guess because he didn't have a blaster, but he had his bow staff, he was making his way to the Razor's Crest before the Razor's Crest exploded. Okay, he saw the Razor's Crest, and that was a good thing. Now, the Razor's Crest being wide open, you see that Boba is like, I'm just gonna go in there. That was like a little bit of a thing in the episode that I noticed. I mean, I don't understand why Mando would have the Razor's Crest open like that. Like, it was just open, like it was landed there and it was open, but whatever, it was wide open so that Boba could see that he could just have the opportunity to get in there. He gets the top half of this armor, okay? Just the top half, because the bottom half, he has a robe when he appears, okay? So the fact that this one was written by Favreau and directed by Rodriguez, I'm like, oh my god. Boba Fett starts doing his Boba Fett thing with armor. So if you thought he was dangerous before with a staff, when he comes out with the armor, he's equally dangerous. They see that he's just taking down stormtroopers, and the stormtroopers are smart enough to say, alright, forget this. We're gonna go, we're gonna leave. And you see that both transports start leaving the atmosphere. You see that Boba Fett, he sees that they're escaping, right? And so obviously when you're escaping now, you can just continue to attack. He's not gonna let them escape. And at first I thought that that's what's gonna happen. He's just gonna like let them escape. But the rocket on his back, he just went like that. The rocket fired. And he did it in such a way where the rocket hit one transport, and then the transport that was leading, it crashed into the other one behind it, and both exploded. And it was just such a moment where it's like, boom, it's like, wow. The power that one rocket and the reach that it has to do that, to cause the chain reaction to blow all of those transports up. Well, upon seeing that, that's when the Empire grabbed the child from the super boss that took them and took them away to the Star Destroyer. So now, in the Slave 1, Boba Fett breaks off the chase and says, we can't do any more. All right, he's already in the ship, so he comes back, lands in there. Mando sees that Boba has the armor, and then Boba Fett shows Mando on his wrist that he is indeed the owner of this armor, because he hits a button onto it and it produces a chain code identification, and then Boba goes on to explain to Mandalorian that this was his father's armor and his father passed it down to him. So even though maybe not a link with Mandalore or anything, it was that his father had this armor. So it'd be interesting how he also acquired that. But, Boba just breaks it down and tells Mando that, since I've gotten the armor back, we got the armor back, we're going to help you get back the child, Grogu. So it seems that Boba Fett and the Mandalorian will be teaming up to somehow get Grogu back. And it looks like Mando has already amassed allies, okay, on Navarro. Okay, he has Cara Dune, he has Grieve, so Mando is putting up together a team. Okay, so basically Mando's rolling deep with a crew with a sniper, the original, the Boba Fett, Mandalorian, that's 3, Cara Dune, that's 4, Grieve, 5, and whoever else is gonna join in the party to get back this little guy, who's now, we see him at the end of the episode in the transport, and we see Moff Gideon show us the reveal of the Darksaber once again. He's toying, this little Grogu is toying with stormtroopers who are trying to tame him, and he's just kicking them around, but that gets Grogu very tired, you see, when he does that. So Moff Gideon already drained him, and he's like, put him in the cuffs, and that's how the episode ends. And you see this little guy, you see Grogu, you're under arrest, Grogu. So this episode was great, guys. 5 stars. Definitely go and watch it if you haven't watched it. And if you haven't watched any of our other reviews for The Mandalorian, go back and watch those. You have a great time. It looks like we only have 2 episodes left to the end of The Mandalorian. You know that the first season was 8 episodes. This season probably going to have the same 8 episode structure. But man, what a ride. And I'm looking forward to the next episode and the last 2 episodes. And join us on the next Bamcomixs. This is OC talking to you about Star Wars, all things in The Mandalorian, the non-spoiler and the spoiler review. Stay tuned for our next episode. Stay tuned for more updates, more reviews, news, movie reviews. Make sure you hit that like. Tell us what you think in the comments below. Hit those notifications, subscribe, and enjoy the show! Because we're going to be back with more Bamcomixs, guys. Peace!